Okay, everybody, welcome back. It is Friday, April 10th. We're doing lesson 4, which is pages 14 through 15. So today I brought the dogs in the room. Hopefully they won't bark, but it's too late for that. Okay, so now Mr. Sony has the dog. So we shouldn't hear any barking, shouldn't have any of that. Maybe just a little pitter patter. Lay down. Lay down. So today, again, Friday, April 10th, we're doing lesson 4, pages 14 and 15. Next week, there will be a little bit of work. I know we said we were going to start with more work today, but we're actually going to start on Monday with the extra work because this lesson just didn't blend with the other one. So today we're going to be talking about simple and compound sentences. This is a really easy thing once we catch on to it. So we just need to review a little bit from yesterday. So we talked about independent and dependent clauses and phrases. So we just need to remember, if you look at the top of the page 14 in your packet, it says that a clause is a group of words that contain both a subject and a predicate. Again, a subject is who the sentence is talking about, and a predicate is what the subject is doing. Okay, so now we're going to jump into simple and compound sentences. Or we should review really quickly dependent and independent clauses. Okay, so if we think about what the word dependent means, it means that it needs something else to work properly, right? And then an independent clause can work fully on its own. It's independent of everything else. So if you said, before Greg went to the store, that's a dependent clause because we don't know what Greg did before he went to the store. But if we said, before Greg went to the store, he went and visited his mom. He went and visited his mom is an independent clause because if we said he went and visited his mom, that makes sense on its own. So now we're going to take a look at simple and compound sentences. So a simple sentence contains one independent clause. That's it. So the example that your worksheet provides is it says, my great-grandmother Lucy was born in Oklahoma in 1911. My great-grandmother Lucy was born in Oklahoma in 1911. 1911 is an independent clause. It stands on its own. The subject of it is my great-grandmother Lucy. Okay? Then the predicate is that she was born in Oklahoma in 1911. Okay? It tells us who we're talking about and what that person's doing. That's an independent clause, and it's also a simple sentence. So an independent clause is a simple sentence. It's the same thing. So compound sentence is made up of two or more independent clauses joined by a conjunction. It gives you a couple of examples of conjunctions on page 14. So we have and, or, so, but, or yet. If we look, there's an acronym we can use called, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but it's FANBOYS, FANBOYS, which is for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Those are all conjunctions, and I'll put, when I post the video, I'll put the FANBOYS acronym in the description underneath the video. So these are all examples of conjunctions. So a compound sentence, again, is made up of two or more independent clauses, and is joined together by a conjunction. So if we look at the example, it says Lucy's sister, Rosine, was born in 1913, and her other sister, Rotha, was born in 1915. So Lucy's sister, Rosine, was born in 1913, and let's say we had a period there. That makes sense on its own. That's independent clause 1. Okay, so we need two or more independent clauses. And, which is right here, is our conjunction. That's the word that combines our two independent clauses. So the second independent clause says, her other sister, Rotha, was born in 1915. If we said, Lucy's other sister, Rotha, was born in 1915, that makes sense on its own. So that is independent clause 2. So we use the word and to put them together. So it's one independent clause, two independent clauses joined by a conjunction. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the practice together just like we did yesterday, and then you guys will do page 15 of independent practice on your own. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the guided practice together. So the guided practice is right down here at the bottom of page 14. So it says write simple next to each simple sentence and compound next to each compound sentence. Then circle the conjunction that joins the two clauses. So really quick, let's write our little acronym. So we have F in FANBOYS, which is for A, and N, nor, B, but, O, or, Y, yet, and then S might get cut off here, let's see, and S is for so. So, let's read the hint first, and then we'll go through each of the questions and then answer them together. So it says, hint, a simple sentence can have a compound subject or a compound predicate. So this is a really good hint to have, because if we see the word and, that doesn't automatically mean that it's a compound sentence. Usually if it's a compound sentence, we're going to see a comma before any of these words. So a compound subject would be, my brother and I loved Grandma Lucy. And also you can tell because the and, whatever comes before the and needs to be an independent clause. So my brother, period. That doesn't make sense on its own. So that's not an independent clause. So whatever comes before and after the and needs to be an independent clause. And then a compound predicate would be, she wrote music and played the piano. So she wrote music is an independent clause, but played the piano is not an independent clause. Okay, so in both of these are simple sentences because they only have one independent clause. So let's take a look at number 1. It says Lucy's mother and father were both school teachers. Okay, so we have that and here. Okay, we're not going to circle it because we're only circling conjunctions that join the two clauses. But let's just take a look at this and. Lucy's mother and father were both school teachers. If we look at just what comes before the and what comes after, are both of those independent clauses? Father were both school teachers. No, that doesn't make sense. Lucy's mother also doesn't make sense on its own. So both of these are not independent clauses, and also we can take the hint because there's no comma. Most of the time there's going to be a comma before these. So this would just be a simple sentence because it's not combining two independent clauses. So they traveled all over Oklahoma, yet Lucy and her sisters never minded or complained. So we have a comma here, and then we have one of our fanboy words, which is yet. So that's a pretty good indicator that it's probably what type of sentence? A compound sentence. But let's just make sure that these are both independent clauses just to make sure. So if we look at, they traveled all over Oklahoma, and Lucy and her sisters never minded or complained. They traveled all over Oklahoma, period. That makes sense on its own. Lucy and her sisters never minded or complained. That also stands on its own. So we can circle the yet. We know it's a compound conjunction. And then we know that it is a compound sentence. As a young girl, Lucy was always one of the best students in her class. So we have a comma here, okay? So let's take a look at what comes before the comma and what comes after the comma. I think right away we know that this is what kind of sentence? Probably a simple sentence because it doesn't have a conjunction, right? but let's just look at what comes before and after the comma just to make sure. So it says, as a young girl. That does not make sense on its own. That's not an independent clause. Lucy was always one of the best students in her class is an independent clause, but as we know, one independent clause only would make it a simple sentence. Now, 4 says, schools were segregated in Oklahoma in the early 1900s, so Lucy and her sisters attended schools for black children. So, schools were segregated in Oklahoma in the early 1900s is one part of our sentence. We have a comma and we have a FANBOYS conjunction. Lucy and her sisters attended school for black children. So if we look at schools were segregated in Oklahoma in the early 1900s period, that makes sense on its own. Lucy and her sisters attended schools for black children. That also makes sense on its own. And then right here we have our conjunction. So we're looking at a compound sentence. Number 5 says Lucy's family did not have much money but lived happily. Okay, so we have one of our fanboy words here, but is it a conjunction? We're not seeing that comma, but let's just go ahead and separate out our clauses just to make sure. So Lucy's family did not have much money. That would be an independent clause. Then we have lived happily. Here we just have a predicate. We do not have an independent clause. Right here we have an independent clause, and then here we have just a predicate. So right here, the but is not working as a conjunction. It's just a regular word here. So we're looking at a simple sentence. So we had, again, our first answer was simple, then compound, then simple, then compound, then simple. And on our 2 compound sentences, we had the conjunction yet and the conjunction so, both of which were one of our fanboy conjunction words. These are the most common conjunction words that you will see. And again, I'm going to put this acronym in the description below the video so that way you guys can refer back to it if you need to, but this is a really good hint. So now you guys are going to go ahead and do page 15 on your own. Next week, probably at the end of the week, we're going to go over these because I want to give you guys a little bit of time to get it together and finish the work. So I want you guys to go ahead and work on these on your own, and then I will see you guys back on Tuesday. Remember that we don't come back on Monday, we come back on Tuesday, and if you guys need me today, I'll be in office hours Friday the 10th from 11 to 2, so you guys can hop on Zoom or call me on my Google Voice number and I will get with you. So I hope you guys stay safe and have a good weekend.